I noticed that one of the screencasts for the wrap up, I didn't notice. Rim told me and Nova told me, but I gather that one of the screencasts for the wrap up for the readiness assurance process and for module 4 lost sound. I don't ask me why. Anyway, the first one that screencast went over and that I'll go over here is this question about sequential games. And I'm going to give you just more than you want to know about sequential games. But a sequential game, we need to think about the order in which players move. And let's think about two car companies. And firm A get firm one, let's call it, gets to move first. They could make a big car. They could make a small car. And notice what we're doing here. We're Where's my pointer? There it is. We're labeling the node A, B, C, D just so we know what we're talking about. We're putting the player's name right above the node when it's their move, and then along the possible strategies that they could play, we're writing something to tell us which strategies those were. So firm one gets to move first. They could build a big car or a small car. Firm two then gets to choose. So we write firm two's name above their possible nodes, and then big, small, big, small. The payoffs, we always list the payoffs in the order of the first move. So firm one goes first and firm two goes second, even if it were a very, really long game with all these sorts of additional not modes out here and nodes out here, we'd still order the payoffs in the order of the first moves. Anyway, um, that's how we convey timing, and of course there's payoff information at every possible end node, and we'd even label those end nodes. So as we talk about the game, we could say, well, if we're at D, and so on, we know what we're talking about. All right. Always has a first mover advantage. No, it actually works out. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Maybe the second mover gets to see what the first mover did and take advantage. So some games work that way. Other games, the first mover has an advantage. So no, there isn't that. Has a first mover advantage only when he or she is able to make a credible threat or promise to choose a dominated strategy. No, it's just the nature of the game. It's sometimes the first mover has an advantage, sometimes they don't, and it depends on the payoffs to the ending situation. Has a first mover advantage only when the second mover fails to choose the dominant strategy? No, that's nonsensical actually. And then sometimes has an advantage, sometimes has a disadvantage. That's the way it goes. Some games it pays to move first, some games pays to move second. Um, say I'll if you and I are playing a game where we share a cake, I get to cut the cake into two pieces. You get to choose which piece you want. Well, you have the advantage because I'm not a very good cake cutter, and one of them is going to be bigger than the other, and um, you get to choose the bigger piece. Um, if I if we both want to sit in the window seat by a plane, I travel with my kids a lot. I'm in the situation, or my kids are in this situation a lot. Uh, the kid who gets to pick the row who gets to the row of seats first wins, right? They get to sit in the window seat, and the rules of the game are such that once the seat's occupied, the second one in has to not sit on top of the first. Anyway, it can go either way. Commitment devices. The whole thing about a commitment device is that um, some games won't be played because the structure of the playoffs, unless there can be promises made, um, some method to commit to doing what you said you're going to do. Contracts actually are how we solve a lot of commitment problems. But I just um, the if I could make a credible threat, so within the structure of the game, I could discipline you for cheating. well, then we wouldn't need a commitment device because your incentives would be such that you knowing that I could punish you, you'd do the right thing. But a lot of games aren't like that. That that to punish you, I'd have to take a big hit myself, and then it's not really credible to say I'm going to punish you. And then what's going to happen is a potentially mutually beneficial game simply won't be played because I can't trust you, and I don't have a way to change your behavior. Just let me just make a quick example of a game. Let's say you and I um, are in a game, and I always cooperate because I'm just a super guy. But sometimes you cheat, sometimes you don't. And I get to choose to punish or don't punish. And you get to either cooperate or cheat. And what we call cheating in games is defect from whatever agreement we're talking about. And I'm just going to make some payoffs up. I'm making these up out of my head. So hopefully I can make an example that works where this game just is structurally problematic. Uh, I'm going to rank payoffs. Four is the best, one's the worst. I don't have numbers. Let's suppose we got a game where you have the um, if I don't punish and you defect, you're in your uh, best situation. But um, let's say my payoffs are I'd like you to cooperate, and I would certainly never punish you because I'm just a sweet guy. And then if I did, I'd hurt myself as well as you. Um, and then let's say that's there. Say that's there. So this game, notice that there's this best situation where if we both cooperate, I get my first best, you get your second best. That's super. But notice what happens. You've got a dominant strategy the way I set up these payoffs to defect. So you just always do better by defecting. And if you defect, I would hurt myself by punishing. So if we, in fact, I have a dominant strategy not to punish. Notice that if you cooperate, I don't punish, and if you defect, I I don't punish. So you have a dominant strategy to cheat. I have a dominant strategy not to punish, and this game is, it's inferior. We don't achieve the best outcome. Now maybe you just really the four is a lot better, and two is only a little bit worse. But let's say if we didn't play the game, I'd be at a situation akin to my second best outcome. Well, then I'm not going to play because I know I'll be at my third best outcome. So, absent a commitment device, this game won't get played. And let's say without playing, your best case would be a tie with your worst outcome or your second worst outcome. Well, then you lose too. So a commitment device can make it better for everybody. And looking ahead to the next question, there's a whole discipline of the economics of religion. And basically the premise is, why do we have religion? Why does every human society have a religion? And economists or scientists of a sort, and we we don't really take that seriously, the notion that there might be an actual God. It's rather, why do we spend all these resources on religion? And it seems to be that, or the leading hypothesis is that um, being religious signals a trustworthiness that then enables, it makes it easier for us to cooperate as fellow humans in whatever social group we're in. And so we spend all these resources because living among a bunch of trustworthy people ends up making us all better off. Anyway, so let's think. Commitment devices are here. There it is. Following through on a threat or promise is not in the player's best interest. So in my, it wasn't. I could threaten to punish you, but you knew it was not in my best interest, so you didn't have to worry about me punishing you. Um, B is sort of nonsensical. People cannot correctly identify. Commitments cannot be purchased. Um, I guess if you didn't uh, really get this part of the reading, this might have been a hard one, but actually, as I read it now, B, C, and D are sort of gobbledygook. But I guess if you're not understanding it, it's all gobbledygook. So hopefully that was helpful. Last one on this in this group. This is I sort of answered this already. Altruism and avarice. Avarice means greed. Altruism is caring about um, other people's well-being is in your utility function basically. And that, of course, most of us are like that. All of us are like that except for sociopaths. There's apparently 3% of the population, according to evolutionary psychologists that I heard talk a few years back. Anyway, commitment problems will be prevalent on both islands, largely avoided in altruism, but prevalent in avarice, because people who are completely self-interested are they're going to screw you if they can. But people that care not just about themselves, but they care about other people, and indeed they're being seen as a ungenerous or uncooperative person would reduce their social status mightily, while they're going to have a strong internal drive to play fair and to cooperate and to do what's best for you as well as what's the best for themselves. And that makes a much better society for us all if we act like that and we're surrounded by people that act like that.